Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learning with Jelly. Today is day 23 of our 30-day SQL challenge where we're going to talk about string functions. So let's go into our agenda for today. So for today, we're going to talk about five main string functions. There are a lot more string functions. I highly recommend that you look at the SQLite Studio documentation, but there is the length function, the upper and lower function, substr, and trim. Now, before we get into our functions, if you are new to the 30-day SQL challenge, welcome. We are so happy to have you. The whole goal is to learn beginner to intermediate SQL skills that you can apply to a data role. So you see two QR codes in front of you, and I'm going to link these in the description below. The topic lists are going to have the links to these videos as well as supplemental resources. And the Facebook support group is a group where you can ask questions, get feedback, find a study buddy, and more. So let's talk about string functions. So string functions at its core is very useful when you're handling character or text data that exists in a column. This is very useful when you want to standardize data. Say, for instance, you need to make the name field all lowercase, you need to get rid of white spaces, etc. And it's also great for data cleaning where you can get rid of values, you can replace values, etc. So the five main functions that we're going to talk about is length, upper and lower, substr, and trim. So first up is length. The length function is going to return the number of characters in a string. I particularly like this function as a check. So say for instance that I know the phone number has to be 10 digits. If I do the length function and it is not 10 digits or a length of 10, then I know some numbers were entered incorrectly. So in this case, you see that we have our query where we're selecting the first name and the length of the first name from customers. And this is what we get out. Lou has a length of 2, Peggy has a length of 5, and so forth. So the length function is very useful when you're trying to perform certain checks. So the upper and lower function, it sounds exactly like it is. Upper is going to make text uppercase, lower is going to make text lowercase. And this is very important for certain models that you may run or certain analytics. For instance, if you're doing anything like natural language processing, we can process things that are all lowercase. So in this example here, we have upper of the first name and lower, and you can see the difference in the output below, where the upper name is going to have the uppercase and the lower name is going to have the lowercase. I also like this so that I don't miss any category within a variable. So, say for instance, somebody could write something that is like yes, which is YES with a capital Y, and then they can write it all lowercase. And then someone could write capital Y, lowercase e, capital S. And this is going to count these as three different categories. So when you want to standardize text, these are two great functions for you. Okay. So let's go to our next slide here. So the substr function is going to return a part of a string. And this is how this looks. So you're going to call substr. The first argument, that's what we call it, the first thing that you put in the parentheses is going to be the column. The next is going to be the position that you want to start at. So if you want to start at the beginning, you're going to put a 1. And then the length is going to be how far you want to go. So 3. So in this case, we're doing a substr of the first name, starting at the first letter and going up to that third letter. And so you see Lou is just returning Lou. Peggy has the 3 letters of Peg, and Frank has the Fra. All right, so the trim function, which is going to be our last function before we hop into SQLite Studio and practice, is going to remove characters from the beginning and the end of a string. So the syntax for the trim function is you're going to call trim, you're going to put the column in that you want to trim, and you're going to put a character. So you can trim out hyphens, you can trim out semicolons, make sure that you put it in quotes. If you do not put the character here, it is automatically going to assume white space. So if the character isn't specified, it will move any white space. We didn't have white space in the first name column, but if we did have white space at the end or the beginning, we can trim that first name column and actually standardize it. So let's go ahead and hop into SQLite Studio to get some practice. And I am going to be working with the employees table. So I want to get a length of that phone number since I love getting lengths of phone numbers. So let's go ahead and select. Let's select employee ID. And then let's do our function. So we're going to call the length function. And we are going to put phone. And we can put an alias here as phone underscore length. Let's do this from the employees table. And let's end that with our semicolon. So let's see what we get here. So in this case, I see certain employee IDs. I see that all of them are phone length 17 except for employee ID 5. So let me just really quickly look at that actual phone number. So I'm just going to type in phone here so that it can actually return the phone number as well. So we can get a good look at it. And here we see that this one is missing the plus in the front. So that is the main difference. So if we know that we want to remove those pluses, we can trim those off. Or we can choose to add a plus to employee ID number 5. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a trim. So I'm going to do a comma here and call the trim function. Let's just go ahead and trim that plus while we can. I'm going to trim phone and I am going to trim it with the plus character. So let me put up my thing right there. And let's put this as trim underscore phone. Awesome. So let's run this and let's see what it does. So we can see that once we did our trim phone, all of the actual plus signs came. Now, keep in mind, the phone length didn't change because I'm using length on the phone variable, right? Which is originally this variable. If I wanted to get the length again after I trim it, I need to call length of trim underscore phone. Okay, so now let's try to do, let's say, an upper. So let's just return their upper last name as well. So we're going to call upper last name as upper name. And let's go ahead and run our query again. And we can see that our last name went in all uppercase. Okay. So these are some very useful functions, like I said, when you're cleaning and standardizing data. Please look at documentations to look for more functions, such as the replace function. But that is our introduction to string functions. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the video. I'm going to have the links in the description below for my Etsy as well as Buy Me a Coffee. And I will see you on our next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.